Welcome to the CommVault channel. In this video, we will discuss CommVault disk library. Please like, share, comment, subscribe for more videos, and you can follow us on Instagram. Let's first check what libraries are configured in this environment. Expand storage resources. Click on the libraries. It shows no items to display. There is no library configured in this environment. This would be the first library that we will be configuring in this environment. There are 3 ways to create disk library. The first way is, right-click on Libraries, select Add, click Disk Library. This would be simple way to create a disk library. Name the disk library. Select the media agent on which this library must be created. Select local path, if the storage is local to the selected media agent, or select the network path location. You would need an account, who is preferred to have admin credentials, and is able to read and write on the selected location. The second way is from media agent. Expand media agents. Right-click on the preferred media agent, All Tasks, Create Library, Disk Library. We see the same window which we have discussed before. The third method is the preferred method, or recommended method. Click on the Storage menu, select Expert Storage Configuration. This window is totally different compared to the other one. Select the media agent from available media agents, and click Add, to move it to selected media agents, or double-click the media agent to automatically move it. Click OK on the information pop-up. Click Start. Add Disk Library. Before we proceed, I recall assigning the storage to the server, but we forgot to configure and make it ready for use. In this PC, we only see drive C and D, which are already in use. Let's go ahead and configure the storage. You can directly open Disk Management, or access it via Computer Management. Click Disk Management. On the top pane you see configured volumes, or disks. In the bottom pane, you see all volumes connected to this server. For this video we will make the 2 GB as fixed drive, and other 2 we mounted on a folder. Right-click on Disk 2, click Online. Right-click on the Disk 2 again, select Initialize Disk. On Initialize Disk window, select MBR as the partition style for the selected disk. You now see the Disk 2 as Basic Disk. You can convert the disk to dynamic or GPT from here. Right-click on the unallocated storage. Select New Simple Volume. On the Welcome page, click Next to proceed. You can partition this volume if you would like, by changing the volume size in MBs. Click Next to proceed. Assign the drive letter for this volume. Under Format Partition, label the volume as desired. Leave file system as NTFS. Select allocation unit size to 64K. By default, the CommVault system uses 64 KB as the block size to read-write data from disk libraries. Select Perform Quick Format. Click Next to proceed. Review the summary, and click Finish. Let's mount Disk 3 on a folder. Bring Disk 3 online. Initialize disk using MBR partition style. Create a new simple volume. We will not make any changes to the size. From this screen where it says, Assign drive letter, or path, select, Mount in the following empty NTFS folder. Browse the path we will be mounting on a folder in Drive E. As there is no folder already created, we will create one by click on New Folder. Rename the folder by a name of your choice. Click OK once done. Click Next to proceed. Label the volume as desired, leave file system as NTFS, select allocation unit size to 64K. Review the summary, and click Finish. Repeat the same steps for disk 4. You now see the configured volumes on the top pane. We see Drive E visible in this PC. Drive E contents are 2 directories, with mounted volumes. Let's continue with Disk Library Configuration in CommVault. Click on the Storage menu, select Expert Storage Configuration. Select the media agent from available media agents, and click Add, to move it to selected media agents. Click OK, on the information pop-up. Click Start, Add, Disk Library. Name the disk library. We would recommend not to select the option, to automatically create storage policy for new data paths. Click OK. In the new window, under Disk Device, you see Add New Device. Base folder, it is folder that is created under the destination location you are going to select. Our destination storage location is not network path, so click on Local Path. Browse, and select Mounted Volume LUN01, in Drive E. You can either leave the default folder name as is, or change it as per your needs. Once done, click OK. Your disk library is ready, with one mount path configured under it. Click on Data Paths tab. Right-click on the data path to check the available options. Click Shared Disk Drive tab. From here you can edit the disk device, or even change the name of the device, for easy identification. Right-click on the device path, for available options. You can share this device path with other media agents, validate the mount path. Deconfigure it from the media agent. Properties will give you the option to edit the mount path. If required, you can switch from local path to network path. Enable or disable the preferred mount path selection. Make the mount path as read-only, so no new data can be written on this mount path. Under Libraries we see the new disk library listed. On the right-hand navigation pane, you see the library details, which is handy information: status of library, capacity, free space, usable free space, and associated media agent. Click on the library name itself on the CommVault browser. In the navigation pane you see the details of the mount path, which include location of the mount path, status of the mount path, free space, total capacity, and reserved space. Let's review the mount path via Explorer window. This is the base folder name we chose. We will discuss about device label file later. CV magnetic is the default naming convention used for disk library in CommVault. Just for easy understanding, let's call it a tape drive in a physical tape library. We will discuss about these configuration files later in this video, or a different video. Let's review the available options for disk library. Right-click on disk library, add mount path, like how we added one mount path before, to this library. Disk library maintenance is to check and analyze the fragmentation levels in the disk mount paths. For simplicity, let's say it's like disk defragmentation in Windows. Delete the library. View the backup schedules associated with this library. Add to favorites of CommVault browser and properties of the library. Let's try to use these options and check. Add mount path. From here you can add a new local or a network path. Disk library maintenance will give you option to trigger a job that would check and analyze the fragmentation levels on one or more selected mount paths. You can either schedule the job or run it immediately. View schedules. It's showing no items found, as there are no schedules associated. Properties. Show the library properties for disk library. In the General tab, you see the library name, associated media agent, number of mount points configured in this library, status of the library, if it's ready or offline. Disk space usage. You can enable or disable the library by enabling or disabling this option. You can hide this library from visibility. Mark library offline for maintenance. When mark archive files for read-only is selected, then the system mark the files as read-only in the disk library. Timeout and minutes for mount and unmount of mount path. Usually this is useful for tape libraries, during tape mount and unmount in a tape drive. For disk library, it might be useful during slow connection to storage. Mount Paths tab, some default options are already selected. Attributes. By default, automatically add data paths for new drive pools configured, is enabled. Prevent accidental deletion of data from mount paths, is enabled by default, do not disable it. Mount path usage. Fill and spill mount paths, as it states, first fill a mount path with data, and when no space left, then spill into next mount path. Using this option will put more load on one mount path, until it is full. Spill and fill mount path, is like a load balancer, and try reducing load from mount paths. Having prefer mount paths with more free space enabled, makes the backup, to not use mount path with less space, and get into issues. Once the mount path gets full, usually the backup might go pending with error, no space left on the mount path. If you select the option, select mount path from media agent according to the preferred setting, then the backup job might look for the same media agent to write data, instead of doing round robin. Mount path allocation policy. On the library level, it is better to keep maximum allowed writers option enabled. If you are sure the number of writers that the library can support, then choose allocate number of writers. Associations tab. If you recall, this is the first library in this environment, and we have not worked on storage policies yet, but still you see CommServe DR policy is automatically associated with it, this because DR backup is critical for the environment, so it picks the first library configured for DR backups. You can change it later to another library, once you have more libraries configured in the environment. Security tab. Shows the users who can view or edit this library. Disk usage tab. Shows the disk space utilization, for this library. You can see the free, and consumed space. Under average disk consumption, you see the estimation, by when the library can get full. Space management tab. Under space thresholds, you can set the threshold for notification, by setting disk free space percentage, low and high watermark levels. Or get notified when library run out of days and X days. Threshold for managed disk space. This shows when automatic data aging start for this library. You see the default values for start and stop of data aging. These values can be altered if needed, to match our requirements. Let's check what options are available for a mount path. Right-click on the mount path. View Contents will show you the list of jobs stored on this mount path, along with details, like backup size, storage policy, retain until, etc. Delete Contents would delete the backup jobs that are stored on this mount path. Validate mount path. We did this using expert storage configuration. Share mount path across multiple media agents. Move mount path from one location to another location. Reasons could vary, like space issues, disk issues, I/O issues, etc. Mount path label. We did see this text file a little while ago. If this file go missing, or corrupt, then it might give you issues like data aging, and this option will help you recreate, or rebuild the label. Delete mount path. To remove, or delete mount path for good. Add mount path to CommVault favorites. Properties. Bring up the mount path properties. General tab. Under Properties, you see mount path location. Free space, space occupied on disk. Total capacity of the volume. Amount of data that can be aged of. Support drilling the holes is an option for deduplication backup, where micro-pruning is required. Micro-pruning is the process of pruning individual data blocks, without sealing the corresponding deduplication database. Unbuffered I/O is like caching. Usually Microsoft Windows file system does the buffering, but you can override it to CommVault to increase the speed of operations that access the mount path. It is applicable for Windows media agents and disks that are mounted directly, and is not supported on new NC paths. Reserve space for silo restore. If you select this option, then you want to use the mount path to receive silo stores from silo restore operations only. By default, the silos are retrieved to the original mount path, from which the data was migrated to silo storage. However, during a restore, if the original mount path does not have enough space, the silos are automatically copied to any other mount path, with sufficient space available in the library. You can enable, or disable the mount path for use. You can enable, or disable this device from use. Allocation Policy tab. Mount Path Allocation Policy. By default, Maximum Allocated Writers is enabled. You need to review the hardware for maximum I/O operations, and then decide if you wish to use maximum allocated writers, or restrict it. We personally do not recommend to set it to maximum, as it will bring load onto the storage. Try find the maximum supported writers, and then add it to allocated number of writers. You can disable the mount path for new data, but old data is still available for recovery until it is aged. Space allocation. Default reserve space is 2 GB, but you can change it as necessary. You can also set do not consume more than X GB, when you know the definite volume size. Fragmentation. Minimize fragmentation by allocating write blocks of n MB. The default value is 128 MB. This option allows the media agent to pre-allocate a specified portion of the backup chunk before beginning a write operation. Pre-allocating a specified chunk size before the write operation enables the operating system to allocate contiguous disk clusters based on the requested chunk size, thus reducing disk fragmentation. Pruning. Enable, or disable, this option to stop or start data aging on this mount path. Select Media Agents for pruning agent data. Based on the associated copy's data path, select this option to send the pruning request to only those media agents associated with the data paths in the storage policy copy, instead of sending the request to any media agent that has access to the library, whether or not the media agent is part of the data path. Deduplication DBs. There are currently no associated deduplication engines. Sharing. You can edit the mount path from this location as well, like the way we checked from expert storage configuration. You can share the mount path between multiple media agents from here. Restrict the access to just read or read-write. We will end this video here. In the next video on disk libraries, we will discuss in depth the disk library configuration and how the data is stored. Stay tuned with the channel. Do subscribe for more videos. Thank you.